Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we'll be checking out the Mido Multifort. We'll be comparing the 42 millimeter diameter model with the 38 millimeter diameter model. All right, so we'll jump right into this. First off, Mido, the brand, was founded in 1918. It is Swiss made, from the Swatch Group. Now, of course, it's considered within their middle range, similar to Certina, and they also share that they're kind of the lesser known cousins to Hamilton and Tissot. So what we have here are dress watches, more of a sporty take, but dress watches nonetheless. They definitely, some key characteristics of a dress watch. You want something very clean, uncluttered, very classic design, really minimalist in nature. And then, so we have both the 42 and 38 millimeter models. The retail around $900. The street price, you can get these around $400 to $500 online. Very similar as far as exactly what they offer. Really, it's just a different size and scale. So let's zoom out here and take a closer look. Okay, so take a look at the 42 millimeter model. Okay, so the 42 millimeter model is 10.95 millimeters thick. As you can see, very clean profile there. With the 38 actually being 10.85 millimeters. So not really noticeable, at least not with the human eye. As far as thickness goes, the difference between the two, it's really in that diameter and how that plays out with the rest of the size. So both of these watches have, let's focus on the larger model for now just to get a closer look. So both models, they pretty much share the same specs apart from the size and scale. So they both have a flat sapphire crystal, also have a screw down signed crown, which is very nice. On the movement, we have an ETA 2836-2, which is of course hacking and hand windable. Pretty minimally decorated there, really just a little bit of the Geneva striping on the rotor. Okay, so as you can see, there is a display case back with some specs etched in to there, as you can see. And it has applied indices, as you can see, with Cote Genève striping on the dial. It has a day-date complication at 3 o'clock. The hands are all polished. The lume that's used is actually BGW9, so it does glow blue, which is nice. The water resistance is 100 meters, which comes with that screw down crown. So that's definitely a nice feature to have, especially in a dress watch, where you can normally expect around 5 meters to, anywhere around that range as far as water resistance. So the 42 millimeter model, let me close the clasp here. So the 42 millimeter model, as far as lugs go, it has 22, and then the 38 has 20 millimeter lugs. So that will definitely help in, deciding as far as which one might be the right size for you. It has an oyster style bracelet with solid links and end links. It's fully brushed, you know, with a nice taper, as you can see there. Uses push pins to secure the links, and they have butterfly folding clasps there in the center. And as you can see, there are half links, which is very nice, because when you have a butterfly deployment like that, you don't really have micro adjustments as an option. So half links are definitely a must. So let's go ahead and take a look at these on wrist and just kind of compare and contrast as far as the size goes. So let me just take off the glove here. Start with the larger model. Okay, so as you can see, definitely the 42 wears pretty large. I mean, I do have a 7¼ inch wrist, and I think this definitely looks at home on the wrist. Let me actually just rest my wrist there. As you can see, definitely gives it more of a sporty appearance. You know, if you're going to be wearing short sleeves, something like that, it definitely gives it more wrist presence, which kind of makes it more of an in-between watch, where you can wear it more casually as well as in a dressy situation. So let's also swap over now to the 38mm model. So the 38 definitely has a more classic size to it, and I think definitely on wrist it looks nicer, and the proportions feel right. And I know 38 sounds really small in, you know, kind of today's modern standards, but if you take a look at that, I mean, that actually really wears much nicer than the 42, and that was kind of my dilemma. And I figured that I would actually, you know, just kind of show the difference with a 1-to-1 for a 38 and a 42. I know there are a lot of watches that do give you that option to kind of choose between the two sizes, and the 38 is really more of a classic size. I mean, if I'm, you know, long sleeve shirt, definitely the 38 would fit better under the cuff, although it is very similar in height. I think as far as visually the impact goes, it definitely looks a lot nicer. But, you know, of course, if you're, you know, wearing something more casual, it may seem a little bit small. I mean, not on a wrist, you know, not on a wristy or anything like that, but the watch can appear maybe a little bit small, you know, when you look at kind of the entire human form and when you take that into account. So just to kind of give you an idea, I mean, they definitely, they do seem quite different in size when you have them next to each other. But as you can see on the wrist, they actually wear, you know, pretty similarly, and it is just, you know, a few millimeters in diameter difference. So actually, let me put on my other wrist, I'll put on the 42, and we'll just talk a little bit about my kind of closing thoughts on these pieces. All right, so just kind of resting wristies there. All right, so, you know, on the wrist, I'd say, you know, they are thicker, you know, a bit bolder than a traditional quote unquote dress watch. You know, but that kind of adds to its charm. As far as model variants go, I mean, there are tons of different Mido Multiforts you can get. There's chronos, GMTs, ones with power reserve complications. There's even a diver with an internal bezel, and then there's even the diver chrono. So a lot of different options. You know, comparably, you could probably, you know, say that this would be similar to a watch, maybe in the Tag Heuer Carrera line, or really anything with that, you know, sporty / dressy style to it. And, you know, the bottom line really is that these are definitely, you know, very stylish and solidly built pieces. and can fit really well in any collection. And the brand Mido is definitely, you know, a watch insider type brand. This isn't something that you're gonna find at a mall very easily or anything like that. There's definitely a little bit of, you know, being in the know when it comes to a brand like Mido. So very nice. And you know what? Although these aren't sports watches, they do have lume, which is another nice feature. So why don't we get a lume shot in while we're here, and we'll close this out. And oh, you guys can let me know what you think in the comments below as far as which do you think suits my 7¼ inch wrist better. All right. Okay, so let's hit the lights here. All right, actually, ooh, let me charge these bad boys up. The black light, so you can get just make sure we're getting a decent glow there. So as you can see, you know, not insanely bright. I mean, it is a dress watch, so it's just nice really for there to be any lume at all. So I gotta say that, you know, these watches are definitely one, you know, where I kind of went back and forth, and really I only ended up getting both sizes, specifically because I actually found a really good deal. I think I aired originally and on the safe side, which for me is I'd rather get a watch that's slightly too large versus slightly too small. So I got the 42, which is, you know, normally what I would wear for a sports watch. But what I think, as far as scale goes on the 42, the small indices, they really make the watch seem bigger. It makes the dial feel larger because the indices are smaller. I actually really do like the dial proportions a bit better on the 38 millimeter. You know, I like that the hands are slightly thinner. I like that since, you know, the dial is shorter, that the second hand is shorter, so it actually has a smoother appearance in the sweep, which is very nice. So, you know, really, it's one of those things where I really do. I think I like the look of the 38 millimeter, just kind of based on its own merits. But when it comes to on my wrist, I do feel more comfortable with the 42, although it does look kind of large in a close-up wrist shot. I think that for me, I'm a little bit more comfortable. I mean, I do wish they would maybe just make a 40 millimeter model. I think that would kind of be the sweet spot, but I can understand why, you know, they do, you know, if they offered a 40 and a 42, that would really, there wouldn't be enough of a difference, right? So they actually are able to cover a wider array of wrists by kind of having one that's in the larger range and one that's kind of in the smaller range. So for me, I feel like my sweet spot is really more of a 40 for this type of watch. I mean, unless I can get one that's thinner. And of course, if you put it on a leather strap, and it's definitely going to look a lot thinner as well, and, you know, with more of a refined taper versus kind of the bulky overbuilt oyster that they come on. So, you know, I think these are cool watches. I kind of wanted to take a break from reviewing divers, although there are more of those reviews to come. I thought I might break it up a little bit and offer you guys a look at some other pieces in my collection. So go ahead and let me know what your thoughts are as far as sizing goes, and you know, when it comes to wearing something that's a little bit more formal versus something a little bit more casual, you know, kind of what your default sizes are and your wrist sizes. All right, thanks guys. Bye.